What's up, Black Desert Mobile fans? It's Legit here. Today's video is going to be going over the detailed Ranger guide. I'm going to cover everything from skills for PvP and PvE. I'm going to cover gear, accessories, and weapons. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time to my channel, make sure you check out the description down below for some additional badass Black Desert Mobile content, as well as heading over to bdmbase.ru for some more readable Black Desert Mobile content. With that being said, let's dive right in. I am not 100% complete with my Ranger build. I do still have some tweaking to do, as we all do, but I've been getting a lot of people asking me for a Ranger guide, what they want for PvP and PvE, so this is just to help you out. I am going to go over what gear I have and what I'm doing now, as well as what I'm going to be going for in gear and stats and stuff like that. Before we get into gear and skills, let's talk about the stats for a Ranger. So we have crit chance, crit damage, attack speed, move speed. You want to focus on attack speed first, then crit chance, then movement speed. Crit damage, so far as from what I know, you can only get crit damage on your Lightstones. If you can get Lightstones with crit damage, I do recommend those Lightstones first before any other Lightstone. As far as branch damages, you always want to focus on AAL branch damage first. AAL branch damage all increases the damage of your skills. That affects all your skills, regardless if that skill has that branch damage tied to it or not. It increases the damage of all your skills. The second branch damage I focus on is AHIB, which has a chance of extra damage. I do want to note that once my critical damage goes to above 170%, Labreve is actually better than AHIB. So once I get my crit to 170%, I'm going to move all of my branch damage from AHIB, or as much as possible, over to Labreve. The last skill, Serret. Serret increases the number of targets. Most of your skills that you use when you're grinding mobs already attack 6 to 8 targets or more. So you don't really need Serret. Let's talk about weapons and gear. What weapons and gear you want to go for? Well, it's actually pretty simple if you think about it. All the gear that you want to go for, if it's yellow, it's always the 2-slot gear. So for example, my bow is the Laverto bow. It's the only yellow bow that you can go for that has 2 crystal slots. You always want 2 crystal slots, regardless what the base damage, base stat is underneath. So 5% crit chance for this example, 3 and then 3% movement speed for this example. You always want to go for the piece of gear that has the 2 crystal slots. I'll talk about the orange gear here in a second, but to start off, you always want to go for the yellow gear. So Grunnel helmet, Grunnel boots, Grunnel armor, Grunnel gloves, and then the Rosar dagger and the Laverto bow are the yellow pieces of gear. Those are the pieces of gear that also sell for the most because they do have the 2 crystal slots. The same thing holds true. The weapons and gear for orange, if it's 2 crystal slots, it's going to sell for a lot more than one with 1. You don't also want to go for any orange gear that does drop that has 1 crystal. So I farmed and got 2 orange drops since I've been playing. Both of them only had 1 crystal slot, so I didn't use them. I sold them on the market. The orange piece of armor that I went with is the Ultimate Toritas armor. I did buy this from the market. It does give negative 1% movement speed. It does give, Rangers don't have an issue with mana, so you don't have to worry about any gear that says mana regen or MP regen on there, because we only have 1 skill that uses mana, and it's not that big of a skill. So that's the weapons and the armor that I currently have. Let's talk about what weapons and armor you want to shoot for with orange. So we're going to go to the market to do this. Let's talk about bows first, which orange bow I'm going to go for, which one I recommend. The best bow you can get, obviously, is the Kazarka longbow. Unless you're super heavy pay to win, that's not an option. The second best bow after the Kazarka is the Ultimate Laverto longbow. So if you get this from a drop, or you can afford 500 million silver for this, it is the second best bow in the game. The third best bow, and the bow that I'm probably going to go for, is the Ultimate Bear's bow. And you're probably wondering, why is that? So the Ultimate Bear's bow actually has negative 2% attack speed, but at the top it actually says 86 AP. The Laverto longbow actually gives 95 AP. Every other longbow is going to be in the 80s range. So the Uria is 80, 83, and 80. So the Bear's longbow actually gives more attack power, but you lose stats for that. So if I was to switch to this bow, I would lose 5% crit and 2% attack speed. I'm already over on the crit, so I can afford to actually lose 5% crit, and I can make up that 2% attack speed in crystals and gems. What that bow is giving me over any of those other bow is more attack power. Only your bow and your dagger and 2 accessories give attack power. So if you're going to get any piece of gear that has negative percents on it, I strongly recommend it being your weapons. So the weapon that I'm actually going to go for, the bow, is actually the Ultimate Bear's longbow, unless I can afford a 500 million for the Laverto bow, which is going to be anytime soon. So I am going to go for the Bear's longbow. The best dagger in the game at the moment is the Ultimate Rosar Dagger. That is giving you 2 crystal slots as well as 3% crit and 3% movement speed. The second best dagger, and the dagger that I'm probably going to go for, is the Ultimate Steel Dagger, which is actually giving me 3% attack speed and 3% movement speed to help make up for some of that attack speed lost by, switching to that orange longbow that I showed you. Let's talk about armor to go for. I do want to note that the red armor is always going to be the best choice, so we're going to ignore those. The second best choice for the helmet is the Ultimate Gruntle helmet, giving you 4% crit chance and 2 slots for crystals. After that is the Ultimate Xerath helmet. That's the one I'm going to go for. It does give 4% crit chance, 2 crystal slots. The difference is this one's giving 44 DP, and the helmet, the Gruntle, is giving 55. So the Gruntle helmet's going to give 11 more total combat power initially for 3 to 4 times the cost. The armor that I went with is the Ultimate Toritas. The armor actually is odd in Black Desert Mobile. None of them give good stats. They're all focused around MP. Rangers don't have MP issues. We only have one skill that we use with MP. So the best armor is the Ultimate Gruntle. It's giving you 71 DP and plus 20 mana. I went with the Ultimate Toritas, 63 DP, because it gives 6 more DP than the Xerath and more DP than the Zerian. I don't care about the MP. The only thing I lose is that 1% movement speed. I can make that up through crystals. For the gloves, the best gloves is the Ultimate Gruntle gloves, giving 4% attack speed and 2 crystal slots. After that, and the ones that I'm going to go for, is the Ultimate Xerath gloves, giving the same stats, just less DP for 1/3 the cost as well. So that's 30. And that's 38. So you're getting 8 more DP, total combat power, for 300 more silver. Shoes is the same scenario. You're going to want to go with the Ultimate Gruntle shoes with 2 crystal slots. If not that, then you're going to want to go with the Xerath, which is what I'm going to go for. The Ultimate Xerath shoes, 4% movement speed, 30 DP as opposed to 38 DP. Accessories are a little bit more intricate than your weapons and armor. Weapons and armors, you always want to go with 2 accessory slot or 2 crystal slots, and then stat bonuses. With accessories, you have a lot more flexibility. For instance, the ring and the bracelet give DP, where the necklace, earrings, and belt give AP. So if you're ever going to upgrade a piece of accessory, always go for the belt, the earrings, or the necklace first, because as a ranger, you want to focus on attack power over defense power. If you notice on the left over there, I do have 1800 attack power and 1649 defense power. So you're probably wondering, which accessories should you go for? Should you go for +8, +10 greens? Should you go for +8 blues? Should you go for +5 purples, or try to get yellows and not have any pluses so you get that additional new grade bonus accessory resonance that they gave us? Here's my answer to yellow accessories, purple accessories that don't have as much resonance. I'm getting a total of 10% additional branch damage. Ignore the attack and DP at the bottom. The all branch damage by 10%. That 10% branch damage is going to give you 10% more skill damage for all your skills. It's going to give you 10% more skill crit chance. It's going to give you 10% more chance of doing extra damage, and it's also going to give you 10% more chance of hitting more targets. That's a lot of extra bonus damage that you're missing out on by having yellows that give you more combat power than a green or a blue, but it doesn't give you any accessory resonance. In order to understand this better, let's go to a yellow accessory. Let's go to the Nerte ring, just the first ring I picked. This ring is giving me 7 more combat power. So if I did 7 times 5 accessories, 7 times 5, that's an extra 35 combat power. So I would get 35 more combat power from using the yellow accessories, but I would lose 10% on all those branch damages. I know a lot of people say combat power is king. You want to focus on combat power, and I get that. You do want to get your combat power up there, but you don't want to get your combat power increase at the loss of, extra damage. I do more damage than people that have higher combat power than me, simply because they went with yellow accessories. When you go with yellow accessories at +1 or +2, you're not getting any branch damage resonance. You have to get the +3. It's quite expensive as a free-to-play player to get your yellow accessories, high in resonance. I'm going to keep the +10 green accessories until I can get my blue accessories to +10. I almost have 2 there. Once I get those to +10, then I'll switch those over and move those over. The accessories that I did go for, I did leave the rest of my inventory, is the Dorth ring for the ring and for the necklace. I haven't quite decided on the other 3 blue accessories yet. Maybe the Tyrion, maybe the Dorth, maybe the Millith. It just depends, because I don't want to cap myself. I'm already over cap on crit. Once I add the Dorth ring, I'm going to be over on attack speed, which is going to give me the flexibility to move attack speed off of crystals, which is great. So that's why I want to go with the Dorth ring. But then I also want to make sure I'm capped on movement speed, which is why I went with the Dorth ring as well. Like I said at the beginning, accessories are super flexible. They give you a lot of room to maneuver. I strongly recommend doing +10s on greens and blues before you go to yellows. The yellow bonus, grade bonus, is giving you, for even if you had +5, it's only giving you 21. So if you had all 5 yellow accessories, it's giving you 35 more +2. It's giving you 56 more total combat power at the loss of 10% on your branch damages. I don't think it's worth it. Maybe you do. You can let me know in the comments down below. That's your gear, that's your weapons, and that's your accessories. Next, let's talk about skills. I'm not going to go through every skill. I'm going to go through just the main ones, and I'm going to talk about which branch damage I went for on them. The first skill, True Shot, I did go with the AAL branch damage. Tearing Arrow, I went with all branch damage. Blasting Gust, I went with AHIB branch damage. Razor Wind, I went with AHIB. Flurry of Arrows, I went with Labreve. Descending Current, I went with AAL branch damage. So that's what I went with all of my skills. My skill setup is this. My skill slot 1, which is this one right here, is my PvP setup. So I use Descending Arrow, Razor Wind, Piercing Arrow, and my heal on the bottom slots. The top slots got your Spinning Arrow into your Spinning Shot into your Blasting Gust, a Flurry of Arrows into your Evasive Explosive Shot up top there. That's the skills that I use. I don't use Evasive Maneuver. That is Evasive Explosive Shot, which means you're invincible while jumping, and it also stuns the target. That's the skills that I do use for PvP. I did make a PvP Ranger guide, which goes over skills and combos. This guide, I'm just going to go over the skills. I'm not going to go over combos. You can check that out, that video out on my channel. My second tab is my grinding tab. This is what I use for when I'm farming mobs or grinding mobs. This is the only time I actually use Evasive Maneuver. I do put it in that top slot up there. I don't really worry about Evasive Explosive Shot so much. I'm trying to do as much damage. That's why my top spots up there are all my AoE spells. The third slot that I have here is my boss rush slot. Now, at the beginning of the boss rushes, when I'm killing mobs, I actually use the second slot. Once I get to the boss, I actually switch to my third slot because there's not as many AoE skills here. It's more focused to single target. I do keep the heal in there. I do keep the Evasive Explosive Shot in there because that invincibility while jumping, it definitely helps when bosses are coming at you or whatever to avoid mechanics. I want to highlight a couple skills here. The first one is the Piercing Arrow skill. This skill is very important because it increases your total attack by +22 for my example for 10 seconds. I do get 2 charges of that skill. By the time the second skill is done, the first skill has been recharged again. So you can almost keep this +22 attack power on a constant rotation as long as you make sure to continue to use your Piercing Arrow once every 10 seconds. Descending Current. The bane of my existence, the bane of your existence, the ability that makes you stand in one spot. It is a heavy hitting ability. You just got to make sure you time this ability correctly. Otherwise, if you're killing mobs and are a lot stronger, while you're casting that skill, you can get annihilated. Razor Wind. With Rangers do have some skills that are more ranged than other skills. So if you notice, you're able to hit targets further away with some skills. Your Razor Wind ability is great for PvP. For hitting targets, the last shot in that skill always has more range than the other shots in that skill. So sometimes a target thinks they're far enough away, but they're actually not. So you want to actually time Razor Wind for PvP specifically for that distance purposes. Blasting Gust and Spinning Shot are your go-tos for PvP. Definitely, Blasting Gust is going to be your knockdown. Spinning Shot is going to be your stun. That's my skills and my skill combos. The last two things we're going to talk about is Lightstones and Crystals. Lightstones, like I said earlier, you really want to get Lightstones that have crit damage. There's no other place to get Lightstones with crit damage. I don't have any Lightstones with crit damage, unfortunately, but that is what I would optimally like to go for. If you can't get crit damage, you can always go for attack or AAL or AHIB branch damage. For relics, I do recommend a relic with all attack power, not one with a combined attack and DP. It is less total, combat power in total, but you do get more attack. And as a ranger, you want more attack. And at the bottom, you either want AAL primary and then AHIB secondary. For crystals, you want to go for attack power, so attack either +6 or +7 if you can get it, or +8 on your yellows if you get lucky with yellows. And then you want to go with either AHIB or AAL branch damage underneath. That's what you want for crystals. That's everything for this guide. I hope that helps you guys out. Like I said, this isn't 100% complete. It's always a work in progress. That is what I'm rocking. That's what I'm going for. I hope that helps you guys out. If it does, make sure you smash that like button. If this is your first time to my channel and you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe. With that being said, I will see you next time.